What's up guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be installing a weaver rail and a 1-inch scope on this Marlin 336W 3030. Now, scoping any rifle is pretty much the same process. The basic foundation is you need to have the right parts. The first thing you're going to need to do is find a weaver rail that fits your rifle. They're going to be custom drilled and fitted to your rifle. So if you don't have this firearm and you need to look for a weaver rail for, say, a Ruger American, you're going to type in that make and model and then just search for your rail, and you're going to be able to find it pretty much anywhere. Gun store, online, whatever. I got this off Amazon for $10. So we're going to be installing it. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at our screw holes here, and we're actually just going to lube the top of this, because this if you don't, you'll have some wear here at some point. This just helps your scope from scratching the rest. So now that we've got that taken care of, we're gonna go ahead and align our weaver rail. Like I said, this is already drilled for this gun, so it's gonna fit on there just like that. Next, we're gonna take our screws and mount it on there. These screws are black, as you can see, which is nice because, as you can see through the holes, the bolt actually is right beneath those holes. So with these black bolts, you'll be able to see if your firing pin, I don't know if you guys can see, there we go. If your firing pin is touching this and rubbing on it, it'll rub to silver. So that's the nice thing about the black bolts, is you can kind of use them for clearance. Take them off, put them in, run your bolt back and forth a few times, take them back off, and make sure they're still nice and black, and that'll you don't have any lockups or anything, and that'll show you that there is good clearance there and you're not interfering with anything. So we're gonna go ahead and pop one of these in here. We're not gonna tighten it down all the way, because we want to tighten left to right, back and forth, kind of like a wheel and tire setup. This is kind of the same deal. You don't want to bend this rail, so you don't want to tighten it down. They are difficult to get started, but just have some patience. Don't try to force them in there. And that oil does make it a little slick, but you got to have it on there, because otherwise this rail will really scratch the top of this muzzle here. And if you ever take the scope off the gun, you're not going to like what you see. So we're actually going to go with this. I'm actually going to use the 2 inboard holes, not the 2 outboard, like I was originally thinking I would, just because the inboard holes, bump the camera there, are actually visible if you have the bolt back, which is nice. You can also visually see that they're clearing the bolt and everything is good. So we're going to move this one here. Like I said, just have patience with them. Don't put a lot of pressure on them. Let them thread themselves. You don't want to cross thread one of these or strip it. So, now our rail's on there pretty well. It's gonna be good. Now we're going to want to check our bolt for any resistance. So we're just leaning it over to the side. And I don't know if you guys can see in there, but looks good. You can also check if your screws are rubbing. It will rub the paint off, and it should show on your bolt here, which it doesn't look like we have any metal shards or anything like that. So the screws are in position. Now this rifle is obviously unloaded, so I'm going to keep it with the action back, just because it's save us some time. All right, now we're going to go ahead and take our 1-inch rings and mate them to our weaver rail. This is a fairly simple process. You just spin the knob back, which you can also put a screwdriver in there if you get some that they're really locked on. You're going to take this and mount it on there. Just, okay, so that one's on there. Just gonna make sure it's nice and tight. Actually, make sure that this plate on the back side isn't cocked on an odd angle, because they can do that. So that one's on there. So we're gonna next put our next 1-inch ring on. For this one, once you get the first one on there, you may want to take your scope which I believe this one has lens caps on it. If it doesn't have lens caps on it, make sure you don't touch your lens with your oily fingers. So, let's see. It's going to be about there. So we want to be about there. This is a pretty good size scope, so we're going to use the rings at the furthest point. That way the gun's got a good grip on it and we don't have to worry about anything. So I can show you guys this angle a little better. You're going to want to slide this and actually put it in the tooth. And what I mean by that is make sure that your screw is lining up in the ridge. So, back this off, and there you go. Drops down on there. And those aren't going anywhere. Okay, now we're gonna open up the rings. And we're almost done. Just pop these loose. Both sides, these are pretty tight, so. All right, just take this guy off as well. Once you can get a grip on them with your fingers, it's a lot easier to turn. Make sure you don't lose this guy. All right, next we get the other one. And then we're gonna lay our scope in there and she should be ready to rock. Okay, now we're going to drop our scope on, and if you can see the 12 o'clock here, you can either put the 12 o'clock, well actually that's going to be in your only option. So you're going to want the 12 o'clock number to be right around middle. So that's pretty good right there. That's always adjustable too. Once you get these back on there, leave them a little loose and you can keep turning that. And Just tighten those down. Again, you don't want to strip them, so just don't put too much pressure on them. Let them thread themselves. It's a lot easier to go slower than have to replace stuff. Okay, that one's pretty loose still. See, that turned a little bit, so that's why you gotta leave them loose, because you're gonna have some movement once you try and put it back on. There's the end there. Starting to tighten up a bit. So, just this one turn there, and then I should be able to. Yeah, hold your scope for your final turns on these screws. That way it doesn't turn as you turn. Okay guys, now she's all set on there. The only thing that you're gonna wanna do is, as you can see, the number is roughly at 12 o'clock along with the arrow, but you're gonna wanna look down your scope and find a straight line that you can compare it to and even that reticle, because your cross hatches are gonna be tilted no matter what. You're not gonna get it right on the first try unless, you know, you get some random amount of luck. So just use your crosshairs and a straight line, piece of wall, maybe a painting on the wall that's hung level, anything like that, and you can put this on here straight. Now she's ready to rock. The only thing that needs to be done is it needs to be taken to the range and sighted in. So we'll do some target shooting. I may have a video of that later, so look forward to that, guys. Thanks for watching.